Hi, welcome back. Now, in the last video, we started creating a system for our player character's life so that if our player gets hit, like for example by these beetles, they flash to let the player know that they've been damaged. And we also have a text box, a number up in the top left corner that shows how much life we have. Now, right now, the number keeps going down. Even if it hits 0, if I get hurt more, it keeps going down into the negative numbers. What we need to do is create a system so that when the life becomes 0 or less, then our player is destroyed. Not our player, but our player character is destroyed. And it plays some kind of animation to let the player know that they've lost. And then the level should restart so they can try it again. So let's take a look at how we can do that. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add an event. And we're going to go to the system for this. We're going to go to compare variable. We're going to compare the variable for the current HP, which is the global variable that we made in the last video. Now, instead of doing equal to 0, I recommend doing less than or equal to 0. That way, just in case something makes the life go past 0 into the negative numbers, it'll still defeat your player, right? It won't lock up the game. So less or equal to 0. And when the current HP is less than or equal to 0, we want to think about what actions do we want to have happen. First, we can destroy the player character, right? So let's add an action and let's go to our player character. Mine is this goblin. So find your main character and we can just go down to destroy. Now, if we test that out, it's a little weird. And it's weird for a couple reasons. Let me show you. For one, as soon as it gets destroyed, the camera jumps up to the top of the screen because the camera is set to always be following the player. And when there is no longer a player character, the camera doesn't have anywhere to go, right? It doesn't know what to do. So we have to fix that. The other thing is the game is locked now. I've soft locked the game because I don't have any player character to control. I'm just stuck in this space. So what we have to do is, well, a couple things. One, let's fix the camera. Let's add an action for the camera. And if you scroll down about halfway, maybe past halfway, you'll see a section for scroll to. Scroll to is the behavior that we added to the camera that makes the camera work. So if we go to set enabled and we disable it, what that'll do is that as soon as the goblin is destroyed, the camera will just freeze where it is and it won't move around anymore. The other thing we need to do is we need to have some kind of animation to communicate to the player that your character has been defeated, right? We created that animation already. We've already exported it, but we haven't put it into the game yet. So let's do that next. I'm going to go over to the layout and I'm going to insert a new object. Now, one thing I want to note here is we want to make sure we're on the right layer because we have 4 different layers now, right? Background, where the background tile is, boundaries, where the red boxes are, the HUD, where the text is. We want to be on layer 0. That's where our main sprites are. So let's right click, insert new object. We're on layer 0, that's correct. Let's go to the sprite and let's enter in the name. I'm going to call mine Goblin Defeat. It's the animation that shows when the main character has been defeated. Click insert, click anywhere, and then let's load the animation that we've created. Here's mine. Good. Now, since it's an animation, you might want to adjust the speed here. So speed 5 is probably kind of slow, depending on how many frames you have. I'm going to turn my speed up a little bit. You can just preview yours and see what looks good for your animation. I'm going to make mine 15. Looks pretty good. Cool. Now, we don't want to have this in the screen. We don't want it to be visible. So let's just drag it out into the gray area up here so that it's not in our game when the game starts. Now let's go back to our event sheet. We're going to add an action. What we want to do is have our main character spawn another object. And the object we're going to spawn is its defeat. Good. Now this is similar to what we did with our enemies too when we created the life system for our enemy. But if you remember, this won't technically work because we're telling Construct to destroy the goblin first and then to spawn the defeat animation. We want to reverse this. We want to spawn it first and then have it be destroyed. Because otherwise it can't spawn another object if it's already been destroyed, right? So just click and drag and move that up to the top. So it makes the defeat animation, destroys the actual player character itself, the camera stops moving, and that should work pretty good. Let's take a look. Cool. Now notice how the defeat animation was underneath the brick wall there? Reason for that is because we added a new object into the game, but we haven't added it to the family yet. If you remember in the video when we talked about Z order, we created something called a family. And everything that's in that family will be sorted using the Z order, so it's in front or behind of other sprites. Since we added this new one in, we have to put it into the family. So I'm gonna scroll down in the right side window, go to Family 1, Edit Family, and let's add our new defeat animation for our main character into the family. Now that should work. Now the last thing that I'm going to add here is I want to restart the level after the defeats happened. Now we want to wait a little bit. You could have some kind of prompt on the screen that says like press any key to restart the level. That's a nice thing to do, but we're just going to keep it simple for now. And we're just going to have the game sit there for a couple seconds and then automatically restart the level so that the player can try it again. What I'm going to do is add an action for the system. I'm going to go down to wait. And I'm going to wait just maybe 3 seconds, just so the player has a time to kind of take a breath and pause for a minute. And then I'll add an action in this system. And if you scroll down about halfway, you'll see a section for layout. And there's one that says restart layout. We can think of the layout as the level. So if we restart the layout, we restart the level. Now let's try it. It's not going to quite work, but let's talk about why. When I get hit and my life total becomes 0, I die, it waits 3 seconds, and then it restarts. But notice how my player character just keeps dying over and over and over again now. The reason why is because the global variable for my character's current HP is still at 0. Look at the total up in the top left corner. It's stuck at 0. Global variables persist even if the layout restarts. So after your player character has died and the layout restarts, we have to reset the global variable for the current HP back to its max HP. So let's add one last action. We're going to go to the system. We're going to scroll down to the global variables part, and under set value, we're going to set the current HP back to whatever you want it to be. I'm going to set mine back to 100%, 100 life, just like what the max HP is. Now, the reason why I have 20 HP for the current here is just to make it quicker to test it, so I don't have to get hit 10 times. I can just hit twice to test it out, just to save time. But typically I would have that current HP initial value the same as the max HP. Gets destroyed, the game pauses for a couple seconds, and then boom, I can start again with full life. Great. We'll leave it at that for this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.